feeling like a shark in a shrimp tank. Big fish, small pond in the shrimp tank. When it's sink or swim, only option is to win. In the murky water, not a thought of giving in. Welcome to the shrimp tank. Want to put it all together, this is big thanks. Doing big things, we ain't in the same league. Running a campaign, Roadie 2016. Like a phone to die, putting me in charge. I'm a general, from the front, I'ma lead the charge. Like a federal, fell on my lap never. Going hard as ever.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to another episode here on the Shrimp Tank, powered by Celsius Beverage. This is your first time tuning in. You catch all these episodes up on our website, shrimptankpodcast.com. Of course, we are powered by Celsius. I just drank one of the new flavors, sparkling cherry lime, and I have to say it's pretty awesome. But I might be a big talker today, Kevin, because I just had a Celsius. I never drink Celsius, only like once a month, or I get too crazy. My staff doesn't like me too much.
Well, that's understandable. You know, Celsius will get you going.
It does.
Good ad read right
fire.
there. I like that.
Every once in a while, if you're an entrepreneur, you need to put one back to stay in the mood, of course. So, Kevin, what's happening at FAU right now? And then let's get right into our guests.
Oh, it's pitching season. There's a ton of pitch competitions. The Tech Runway's hosting one for the Accelerator. The Adams Center's hosting our annual business pitch competition. We've already notified the finalists. They'll be pitching in just a couple weeks. And we've got some entrepreneurs from our ecosystem competing in national competitions. We've got a finalist at eFest with Charlie and his company All Dental. He'll be going to Minneapolis and sending one of his colleagues to Florida Blue. So we're doing good things on a national stage once again, and hopefully we come back with some wins.
That is awesome. And we always talk about relationships and how powerful they are in entrepreneurship. And our guest today, John Wallace, got to the Shrimp Tank today because of a simple referral. I was talking to my buddy David Hartman, who runs the Silver Logic, and of course he's been a past guest.
Yeah,
and he's like, "You got to meet John. He's a great individual to have on your show." And just like that, one email over, John's here today. And John's company is, of course, based all around relationships. So, John, this is the Shrimp Tank, where we give everybody 60 seconds to do their elevator pitch about what their business is about. A lot of students often go into situations and sometimes people walk out like, I have no idea what that person did. So we really want the students here at FAU to understand the power of an elevator pitch. So go ahead. We're going to time you 60 seconds, John. Tell us what your brand does.
All right. So our business is about helping other businesses keep their main thing, the main thing. So they got into business to do things like sell products or services. And oftentimes they'll say that their most important asset is what? Their people.
Of course.
So there's a lot of tactical management that really needs to happen: payroll, HR, benefits administration. That's not their main business. They're not in business to run payroll. So what we do is we take that off their plate, and we leverage technology, and we actually run those back office services for them.
Kevin, you did pretty good. What do you think here?
Under 60 seconds.
Yeah.
You kind of nailed it.
It's not bad, but I was talking with the students in this class about the company before class, and still we want to get a little bit of a better handle on what you do, right? We weren't sure. It looks great, right? Inc. 100 fastest growing companies. I know that it's needed. But so do you sell software? Are you a reseller? Do you integrate software? Do you just organize their existing software? Tell us a little bit more about the specific services and how that plays out.
So that was a good elevator pitch. It got you intrigued to want to learn more, right?
All right.
You gotta
stop pitching.
You got to get the hook every 10 seconds. You have to earn your next time.
We call that a rebuttal. A great rebuttal.
So if you think about it in the context of the customers that we serve,
so
typically businesses between 50 to 5,000 employees. And I'm sure there's a lot of people in the audience today that they aspire to do that. They aspire to have businesses that size. So what we're doing is we're taking technology that already exists. So let's say you have 100 employees. You're already working with an ADP or a Paylocity or a Paycor. We're not going to sell that technology. You already have it. What we're saying is, let us run that for you. Essentially, you have a car, let us be your driver. Because there's a lot of nuance that has to occur with the technology. So when we go to market, we say, hey, we're a tech-enabled managed services organization. Now we'll help organizations to find their software. So if you've grown very rapidly from, 25 to, let's say, 150, there's a whole new set of compliance guidelines that you now need to comply with.
Absolutely.
So now, okay, you've maybe outgrown Augusto or something. So yeah, we'll help you find the technology. We'll help you build the technology. We'll help you optimize the technology. Then we'll help you run the technology.
Quite important, Kevin, because I know when I run my business, I get all these emails all the time, and it's a pain in the butt, right? It's so complex after a while. And as you have more employees in different states, certain employees, are not W-2, they're independent contractors, 1099. And then all of a sudden you want to work with people in different countries like Canada. It gets really hairy. And as a business owner myself, I'm like, what just happened? Like I used to spend 40 hours a week on my business, and now all of a sudden like 7-8 hours are going to all the stuff that he just referenced. And you're getting so many emails and you overlook things. And all of a sudden you're getting a fine, right? They're like, what is this? Like, I didn't know, from the Hartford, like, you have to put in the workers' compensation, submission on, your quarterly return. You understand where I'm going with this. It gets crazy. Where did you learn all this though? Like, this is pretty complex stuff, right?
Yeah.
You didn't just one day wake up and understand HR and all these different systems. So give us kind of the journey, how you got to where you are.
Yeah. And to your point, like there's so much nuance to it. Like you can have, let's say you're a remote organization, you have an employee who lives in Ohio and they move across the river to Kentucky. Well, are you registered in Kentucky to do business? Like that's an example of a service that we would come in and we would take care for you. Yeah. My background was I came from actually ADP. So sales and distribution is really my niche. And I think that's been the reason why we've grown so quickly as an organization is I'm not the doer of everything. So what I specialize in is, okay, how do we generate the demand? How do we build distribution channels? We're a partner sales organization. Then it's really about building the team. And I have an amazing team behind the scenes. If I didn't have that team, it wouldn't be possible for us to scale out as we do. So my background comes from sales. And then obviously being an entrepreneur, you're opportunistic. And so you see that opportunity, you jump on top of it.
So Kevin, I got to ask you a question, because back in the day, you always could only run this type of business if you had a tech background, and everyone would teach everyone like, hey, that's great. You're good at sales, but you got to find, a tech co-founder. And I think today things are evolving. Things are changing. He didn't have a tech background. He had a sales background. Yep. So can you just speak, Kevin, to just that entire topic? Because it's super important.
Yeah. And I mean, in a sense, I do still find in my experience, which is pretty vast when it comes to startups, that if you want to start a tech company, you want to do tech development, it benefits you to have a technical co-founder or at least a fractional CTO, someone who knows who to hire, why to hire them, who not to hire. You need the technical expertise, but this is really tech enabled. And really everyone sitting in this audience, these students, my students, most of them are tech enabled. You have to figure out how to use and leverage, deploy, and execute technologies. I was just talking to them in preparation for the podcast, right, about your company and trying to figure out exactly what you did. We talked about HCM versus CRM. And I mentioned to them, if they're working for a large organization, right, doing sales, what are they going to be using? Salesforce dashboard, right? They're the largest. They have the largest clients in the global universe of sales. You have to be able to figure out how to use those dashboards and use those platforms. But luckily, this generation is very much native to understanding how to utilize the technology, not necessarily building it or designing it or architecting it. And that you don't need a technical founder for. Anybody can use these platforms, but as John points out, it's not the best use of the business owners and the employees' time to figure out the nuances within Workday. And trust me, I know FAU is a Workday school.
Let's talk.
Yeah.
So John, jump right on into this conversation, right? Talk about like the back end technology. Are you guys building some of your own things, or is this mostly your plug and play model? You're using most of the stuff off the shelves and incorporating it all together, and then coming to a business owner like me and just really stepping into the driver's seat and really helping me.
So we do have some of our own technology behind the scenes. Like we've got a data validation engine, because you can imagine there are just so many data points that are really in play, and like the cost of getting it wrong is substantial. So we do need to make sure, like on a conversion from one platform to another, the data is clean and it's accurate. But I actually want to talk for a little bit about, being an entrepreneur in a service-based business. I think it's really compelling. So if I look at the landscape today, I think technology, AI, it's like the gold rush. People are all going out to California in the 1850s or trying to mine for gold. And it's a land grab, and there's no guarantee there's going to be success. There's a lot of people out there. And so my philosophy is, I don't want to go mine for the gold myself. I want to be the guy who sells the pickaxe to the people who are mining for the gold. So you have this ecosystem of like all these really competitive technology platforms. I want to be the person that's actually top of the funnel I'm consulting with the organizations as they figure out what are they going to buy. And now we become important to all these tech companies because we are helping their customer base make the buying and then implementation and maintenance decisions for that technology.
It makes total sense because so often you see one company up here one day and all of a sudden like there's an ad and everyone's like, you got to try out this new technology.
Exactly.
And that company gets wiped out. I think of ClickFunnels as an example, a great marketing tool, but now more people are switching to High Level as an example. You know, the person who created ClickFunnels, thank God, has a huge community and has big events in Las Vegas. So he's fine. Right. But if he didn't have that, like he would have major losses overnight. But you think about all these AI technologies with social media posting, like think about this, like, oh, use this posting technology. And all of a sudden you're like, nope, here's a better one.
Correct.
Or cutting video, whatever it might be. I mean, technology is changing overnight. And I like where you are. You're good at marketing, you're good at sales. And that's not really replaceable these days. And that's super important because your skill set from ADP was brought over because one of my first interviews was ADP actually. And I remember their process. They're cutthroat. They teach you how to have a rebuttal, right? So when you were doing your 60-second elevator pitch, I noticed that. It's like, nope, rebuttal it, right? And that's important when building an organization because you could build the best thing under the sun, but you have to know how to speak to your customers and how to show them the value. Can you speak to that for a moment of just how you train your staff, how to get themselves in front of new opportunities? Because your business can't get on the Inc. 500 lists in the top 100 without having a robust sales team.
Yeah. And I think that's one of our strengths as a business is our distribution channels. So what we like to do is instead of going and calling company by company by company, we want to call on people that after we build that relationship, they could refer us 50 deals.
Okay.
So the channels that we operate in, number one would be the tech companies themselves. And we work with really all of them in this space, the market leaders. They need us to deploy their technology to serve it on an ongoing basis. Number two is the broker community. So they're making referrals to their client base. And the third is private equity. And we're a no-brainer for private equity. I'll be in New York next week speaking at the Private Equity Human Capital Forum to discuss this exact topic. Their portcos want to operate lean. They want to be efficient.
Yeah.
They totally buy into the whole keep the main thing the main thing. Why would you have any personnel on staff that are W-2 not focusing on the core business? And so that's really a compelling message out there. So our team, they know that message and they know exactly who their niche is and who they serve. And I think it's okay. Like if you look on their website and it's maybe a little bit confusing for someone out of the industry, that's totally fine because we're not trying to be everything to everyone. But if you're in our space and you are a qualified buyer and you see that website, it makes sense for them.
All right, I want to mix things up. I know your organization services larger, right? Not so much startups. You mentioned 50 to 500 to 5,000 employees, so big organizations. I know a lot of founders and startup owners are listeners and viewers of the show. What are some of the tools today, kind of best in class, affordable HR tools that might be more suitable for an organization with, I don't know, 3 to 8 people? Simple things. I know there's always new ones for payroll, for basic HR, not the tools that the large organizations use, but what would you advise entrepreneurs who are really trying to bootstrap, how they might make things easy for them as they're just getting started in HR?
Yeah, there's a couple good platforms out there. ADP's got a run platform, Paylocity, Paycor. Those are really pretty simple systems. We do have clients that are a little bit smaller and they it depends on who the personality of the owner of the business. Like, are they a delegator or are they a control freak? So those that want to actually delegate out, like we will support those smaller businesses, but you really can't go wrong with any of the brand names.
Nice.
Okay. I think it's time for that part of the show. We have some of the Florida Atlantic University students come on up and ask you some questions, John. And we're going to switch it up today. I brought a whole thing of Celsius with me, all their new flavors. So whoever asks a question, you get a Celsius, and they're cold. They just came out of my fridge. So come on up and ask a question. Hopefully you get like 10 questions here. Celsius are getting expensive today. They're like $2-3 a can.
All right. Hello. I have a question about, you mentioned AI earlier. What are your thoughts on if AI gets fully integrated into HR at some point where there's no positions anymore? It's just AI really kind of managing and doing all those things.
I'm hoping that's the case. So we want to be able to build that out. But just like you have flight or air traffic control at the airport, when you think about the space that we're in, we're dealing with a lot of really sensitive information, employees' personal pay, address, social, etc. That's never going to be in a position where they're going to just completely let that thing run. So our ability to help actually build out that AI tech stack and then be the air traffic control is the optimal position that we want to take.
I got a question for you. You're going to eMerge. What do you hope to get out of going to the conference?
Thank you. I honestly want to go there and just absorb whatever information I can, because I don't know exactly what to expect from it. And it asked me what I hope to, it asked me, how do you think that you can learn from it? And I just said, how can I not? Like, because I think that whatever it has there's going to be some kind of value for me. So I'm just super interested in all of that.
You want to work behind a booth and volunteer? We'll put you behind the Owl booth on booth number 239.
Yeah,
Nice.
be sure to swing by Al in the FAU booth. I'll introduce you to some people. It'll be great. It's like a circus for startups. It'll be fun.
Thank you.
Erica.
Hello.
Hey.
So I was wondering what your biggest tip would be for people who are trying to figure out how to scale their business.
That's one of my favorite questions that I get and favorite things to talk about. It's taking it a step at a time. And I think a lot of times people get worried about, oh man, I got to do all these big things to get there. Like, don't even worry about step 20 when you're on step 1. Focus on step 1, nail step 1, then get to step 2. And then also understand, like, you are playing a long game here. It's a long time horizon. So just giving that consistent effort every single day, not too high, not too low. You stay focused on like what's right in front of you, get to the next step, and you've got your hearts in it. Like, it's, in my opinion, I think it's impossible not to succeed.
Thank you. It's really helpful.
How do you
Be careful, Erica. That's a giant Celsius. I don't know.
I looked at the label. It's just 4 ounces more, but it's the same technically, because they're just competing against other brands that have big cans. How do you stay away from the noise though? You get so many people that get in your head those first couple of years. Like the first year you jump from ADP over, right? It could be a spouse as an example. It could be a brother, a sister, a mother, a father, or a friend that just looks at you right in the eyes. John, what the hell are you doing?
Yeah, I bet ADP had some nice benefits, some time off.
And often you're like, the first year you're losing money usually, right? Or you're not making as much. So like, how did you deal with that?
Well, that's why I like a services business or tech-enabled businesses, because you can be scrappy. Yeah. So like when I first started, I remember, this is a funny story. I went onto Google and I literally looked up AT&T's payment terms. I took it like theirs. I wiped their logo out, put my logo on it, and just sent it off to one of my first clients. And they filled it out. And now I had their banking info. So now I can get money in the door. So I'd make the sale first, collect, and then I would be able to fund my labor. So I think you just have to be scrappy. And that's why I do like those tech adjacent businesses.
Well, now more than ever with ChatGPT, I mean, forget about it. Like your terms and conditions, write it like for the time being.
Yeah,
no one ever had
prior ChatGPT.
Nowadays, it's like, oh my God, like I'll get to the real one with a lawyer one day. But in the beginning, I mean, you go crazy with a lot of these templates with ChatGPT, of course. Come on down.
Good afternoon.
Hey.
So I just had a quick question in regards to your thoughts on startups trying to break into niche markets. If you've had any experience helping people out with that, if you had any advice, anything you want people to keep in mind before doing so.
I think make sure the total addressable market is there to support what you're doing. I also love the idea of making small bets with lopsided payoffs. So don't go too deep into a thesis and let your customer base determine your success. So I do talk to a lot of founders. They feel like they've got a really great product and they love it, but the customers, they may say they like it, but they vote with their dollars. So try and get that tested as quickly as you can, and then don't be afraid to pivot.
Do you have a niche market in mind?
Maybe.
Yeah.
Tell us.
Fire away.
Yeah. So I this is not necessarily my group, but this is me personally. So I've been in currently I'm vice president of the kickboxing club on campus, and I'm trying to break out into more combat sports related, whether it's striking, mixed martial arts, but it's not necessarily the easiest to break out into, and considering, whether it's booking events or whether you want to be an event holder or you want to do equipment. There's certain niche markets. Like obviously when you think like combat sports, you think like, oh, UFC, oh, MMA, but there's obviously a lot more to that. So it's kind of just it'd be very hard to break away from like the common, you know, like consideration of what someone might think about martial arts, because some people might think of like, oh, karate, oh,
Yeah.
this and that. So there's a lot to that, but
I think there's a lot of opportunity there. A lot
Yeah.
of the founders I work with, I find myself encouraging them to niche down further, especially early on. Just niche and then niche and then niche, so you can be really focused. And then you can provide a really fully customized, fantastic solution that really caters to a customer. And then later on, as John referenced, you do want to expand. It becomes much easier to expand into other verticals, right? So maybe you start just with kickboxing and do something specific in that space. And then you look at other, relevant things, right? Oh, well, maybe, we could come up with a similar solution and event for jujitsu or this or that. But focus it can be really key early on. I tell founders not to worry too much about the size of the market until they figure out the business model. And once they do, we can expand that, modify that, and grow from there.
Yeah.
Riches are in the niches.
Yep.
And
You pretty much broke down exactly how I was my thought process.
And I'm going to add one more to that is so often people want to get paid early on, right? I do a lot of internship programs with my brand Owl and even the Shrimp Tank. And often everyone's like, what's the pay? What's the pay? And my answer is always experience, right? So if you're breaking into that market, if you research all the people locally in South Florida, and you're like, you're never going to get a job there, right? But if you went over to them like, hey, I just want experience. I'll work for you for 10, 20 hours a week. You tell me whatever you want. I'll be in there every single week. I could do some remote work. It's hard for them to say no when you're that aggressive, right? You were aggressive when you got up here and grabbed that Celsius, right? So like get up there and be aggressive and ask, but don't ask too often. I see too many students, unfortunately, going like, oh, the pay's not high enough. And I'm already at a university taking business classes. And that's the wrong approach. One day you can make millions in the market, you said, but you could be missing out from getting that experience, which is so valuable to start your own business or work part-time somewhere, 10, 15 hours a week, and see what's really happening behind the scenes. I think so often young entrepreneurs think they know it all, and they are really clueless of the logistics of how hard it is to handle customers and clients and the complaints and the technology that he's speaking about, and end up failing where they should just do exactly what he did. He worked for ADP, right, for a long period of time. And he got a great experience, learned from them, and then jumped when the time was right. And often most entrepreneurs, slowly slide over 5 to 10 hours a week on their passion project and eventually make the full-time jump. So that would be my guidance to you as well.
Yeah, I completely agree. I'm in that mindset right now. So thank you.
Awesome.
Yeah, experience is so valuable. Just
Okay. Any last questions? We have a whole bag of Celsiuses to give away.
Well, I got
once,
a couple
going twice.
questions, generally speaking,
Okay.
from the class, since we don't have our traditional show prep. One of the things they want you to tell them about is an HR nightmare or a dysfunctional team, something you've run into in your experience where you were like, wow, this is kind of a nightmare. This is going to take a lot to clean up. Or maybe it was somebody you couldn't even serve as a client. Tell us one of those stories.
yeah, we're not afraid to fire a client if they're misbehaving a little bit. But when I think of HR, I think about people, and I think about how important people are. And this I think would be advice for anyone, especially like your first couple of employees, like thinking right person, right seat. So someone who has the right personality and characteristics and has the skill and ability. So when we see kind of HR nightmares, it's businesses, and I've been guilty of this, where you hire someone because they've got these amazing traits, but then culturally they're just not a person who fits your organization, and then you have to work to get that person out. So my advice to
I think you're being quite nice. What do you really mean by that? Dive deeper. Like when they don't fit into your culture.
Yeah,
right? They're cancer. And what are they doing? Because often people sugarcoat this.
I mean, it's you kind of see it all. I mean, it's the gossip, it's the backstabbing, it's the deliberately doing things the wrong way and tanking projects. Like some people are just vindictive. Yeah. And if you see that and they don't have the characteristic traits of what you want in your org, you must move quickly to get them out of the business.
All right, let me ask that a little bit differently. What's the most common HR violation you see when you go into these organizations, either on purpose, overlooked, inadvertently? What kind of violations do you see most common? I know what I see.
What do you see?
Well, I see what is typical startups and a lot of other organizations in South Florida. I see founders that have no employees, none, right? 1099s
yeah.
everywhere.
22
But
1099s. Yeah,
they
all
have
the time.
a lot of employees. When I
Yeah.
start getting into how many hours do they work? Are they allowed to work somewhere else? Do they work somewhere else? Oh shit.
That is
We're
a
starting
common
to,
one.
yeah.
But
So
I
that
get
one
that 'cause
comes up a lot.
part of it's being like the scrappy grind, and I guess I'll tell on myself. I mean, I did that for the first couple of years, and then we got to a certain size, and I said, you know what, we do need to install a system, and we
Yeah.
need to actually get W-2 employees and all the compliance, and then insurance, and all the things that come along
Yeah.
with it.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's a tactic and it's reasonable, but yeah, at some point you got to flip that switch because
That's
that can
right.
be very dangerous.
It
Should
definitely could
should
be.
word get out and everyone decide, it's not the best job, and that there are. So I see that one a fair amount. That's probably the most common thing I see. Other than that, the organizations are so small, and this is relevant for students and other listeners. They're not constrained by as many state and federal legal and law guidelines, right? In terms of hiring processes, all kinds of stuff. When you have relatively few people, you can get around a lot of that. Whereas once you pass certain thresholds, the regulatory environment gets much more stringent.
Exactly right. The bigger you get, the more restrictions and compliance regulations. And I just think word of advice too for any business is get everything in writing. It's again, these are all things that I've been guilty of. Is you may have the best intentions, you say something verbally. I just tell people, just you can trust me, but I don't want you to trust me. If I say something, I'm going to give it to you in writing as well. So
yeah,
I mean, partnerships could form that way in the beginning. They got a handshake agreement, but get it in writing.
Yeah. And even those employee versus independent contractor, that's a good example. If you have a really strong, rigorous independent contractors form that clearly explicates like you are allowed to work at other organizations, you are not full-time, you're blah blah blah, like didn't it can be, depending on the other characteristics of the job, totally fine and in fact appropriate rather than making them an employee. But you should have that documented.
Agreed.
So there's no confusion.
Okay, I'm just going to talk to your background, just your daily routine. Right. Often entrepreneurs, we see on TikTok and they're doing ridiculous stuff. You're like, if you did all that, you'd have about 3 hours a day to work. Right. The sauna, the cold plunge, and that a lot of that stuff is out of control these days. But like, let's talk about the real world. You have over 100 employees. You're located in Miami, your business, right? You live over here in Boca. You play pickleball. I could see based on our little survey that we filled out, you're into the gym, right? Can you just tell us like what it really is like in your shoes Monday through Friday?
So I can't tell you that I wake up at 2 a.m. and go to bed at 1 a.m.
You can. I think the president of the United States says he gets like 2-3 hours of sleep. And he's one of those people that just doesn't need much sleep. And some people, they really don't need it. Right.
Yep.
And other people need a solid 8-10 hours.
I need my 8 hours.
You need your 8 hours. So kind of give us kind of routine, just because I think it's so fake out there. I think everyone sees someone like you, like, oh, must be nice. You have a place in Miami, a place in Boca, a nice car. And all of a sudden they just see, it's just easy peasy. But the truth is like, no, I'm sure you freaking sacrifice. You wake up early. I bet you work out all the time. And I bet you are involved in sports to kind of keep your mind right. I'm guessing. Yep. I don't know if I'm right here.
No, and I've got my lovely wife in the audience, so she can spot check me that she's the lie detector over here. I think the routine is about being disciplined. And so I am a disciplined person. I want to be out of bed by, 6 o'clock. Sometimes we'll hit snooze and at 6:15, I go upstairs, I stretch, I get to the gym. I have to get a workout in every single morning, gets my mind right. But then I also like to ease in the day. So I don't want to book any meetings before 9 o'clock. So I finish my workout. I have time to get my coffee, maybe read a little bit. Then I've got my meetings, and then I'm pretty much, I'm in meetings, on calls.
At home or at the office? Because I know
I'm at home. So I live in Boca. Yeah, Miami that's our meeting place when people fly in, but we're in like 40 different states. We're all remote. I call the 9 to 5 the golden hours. That was ingrained in me from my ADP days. So I think during that time, like I need to be on the phone talking with people, whether it's our customers, distribution partners, or employees. I don't want to be doing admin between 9 and 5. Gotcha. We have a nice lunch around 12:30. We go for a walk. I think getting outside, being in the sun is really important. Dinner at 6:30, right? Pretty regimented. She'll tell you.
She's
Yes.
fact checking
So
you. She's
she is.
giving us one of these.
I think to accomplish big things, I think you need to be disciplined.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
Okay.
there's one more thing before we get out of here that the students wanted to see if you could do. Now, we did your elevator pitch, but they wanted to see you do a client pitch. Imagine you run into a C-level executive at, a large corporation, maybe a Fortune 500 company, maybe a large university. Give them your
FAU.
pitch
Yeah.
to
Pitch
take
FAU
over
right
and
now.
integrate into their HR systems. What kind of makes you unique, and how do you add value to that organization?
Sure. So you told me 20 minutes ago that when you said Workday, you said
Yeah, Workday is it's brutal. It does what it's supposed to. I mean, I get paid every couple of weeks, but there's a lot. It's kind of a clunky product. It seems to waste a lot of time.
So what if I told you Workday was actually a really elegant product and you could be incredibly productive when you're in that software? So what we do as a business is we will understand what your specific needs are, because actually the software is so powerful. It can be curated and customized to the exact T of what you need specifically. So that is what we do. So we would get Workday to be built exactly as you need it. And then, by the way, what if we just ran it for you? What if you never had to log in there? And
that would be
you called
ideal.
us?
Yeah.
So that would be the pitch. And so when I talk to a C-level executive, they say, wait a minute, I've invested hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars in Workday. I don't like the it doesn't work. And I say, actually, don't rip it out. Don't replace it. Let us just fix it for you. And then after we fix it, we'll run it for you. So the example I give, it's like you do all this work remodeling your landscaping, new trees, new flowers, new bushes. And then what? Well, someone's got to come cut the grass. So let us plant all these beautiful trees, these new shrubs, and then we'll come every single week. We'll pull the weeds, we'll trim the hedges, plant new flowers as the seasons change. And usually I would say that resonates with a C-level executive.
Yeah, we'll have to get you over to HR, talk to them, because I think we could use some of that stuff.
We're just gonna send them this clip. We're done. You're the feedback. You're the consumer, of course, on that end.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, John, thank you for joining us here on the Shrimp Tank. Do you have any last words you want to share with the students? Any advice in particular?
Yeah, advice is just keep getting after it. I mean, if you have a bad day or a rough situation, those who are consistent and can just persevere through the tough times, the setbacks, are the ones that will be successful. And it really is just that consistent effort over a long period of time that will determine if you're successful or not. So that'd be my advice. And then also to say, I love helping people who want to be entrepreneurs, want to start their own business. I'm very accessible. Please reach out to me. Would love to develop that relationship and help you any way I can.
Yeah, get John on Owl. And if you're attending Emerge Americas down in Miami Beach next week, be sure to stop by and say hi to Jason and I.
Absolutely. And I'm going to piggyback that, John. How many people actually reach out to you to ask for help, in all seriousness, not for pitching their business?
Yeah, I get a handful, but I love that you said that, because I feel like I asked that question so many times and then not a lot of people take me up on it.
That's my point I was making. I run a business. I run the Shrimp Tank. And I could tell you in the course of a year, I get 1 to 3 people that generally ask for help.
Mm-hmm.
Most people really are pitching whatever service they're selling. And often most entrepreneurs are willing to help you out there. It's just that no one ever picks up the phone to make a call. And I think Steve Jobs has a famous video that's out that literally says it's just pick up the phone and call someone and ask for help.
Yep.
And you'll be surprised if you ask that genuinely, people will be like, sure, I'll jump on a meeting.
Yeah, they want to give back.
And you want to see that their lives been impacted. So everybody sitting in the audience today, John will be the featured expert on the Owl app. And literally all you got to do is follow him and then give him a call. It's going to be absolutely free because all your accounts have money in there, of course. And just pick his brain about any topic that we discussed on today's episode. We'll be back next Wednesday, right around 1 o'clock. Take care, everybody. And thanks again, John, for joining us here on the Shrimp Tank.
Thank you.